What careers are in demand for the future? Well, there's no one single career path which is going to future-proof you, and so you must make sure that you go down that road because that's where the money is. But there are a lot of different deciding factors in figuring out how you want to spend the rest of your life, and it is really important to look at those future trends and position yourself accordingly so that your job is not going out of style and you're not positioning yourself to make all this effort towards something that's just going to get more and more difficult in terms of finding high-paid jobs. And if you're not convinced yet, here's an interesting stat. By 2030, the McKinsey & Company firm estimates that automation is going to get rid of 400 million jobs. That means a lot of jobs which seem secure right now could become automated, and a lot of people are going to be losing their positions. So it's a really great idea to think about which positions are future-proofed, which positions are going to stay the course. You don't want to be one of those people living in the safety illusion where they feel like, well, I've had this job for 20 years, so I guess it's not going anywhere. Final last words, And I have worked with a lot of people who thought they had really secure jobs and everything was going fine until it wasn't. And from one day to the next, they're laid off. So I'm really happy you're here and that you're watching this, and that means you are taking an interest in future-proofing your career and in making sure that you are headed in the direction of maintaining high-paid work and that you stay in demand as a specialist, that you're not just being replaced by a robot. So without further ado, let's talk about the careers that are going to be the most in demand in the future, so you can use this for your own brainstorming and just keep them in mind when you're thinking about what kind of career change you want to go for. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Dahlia. I'm a career strategist, and what I do is I help people to switch into roles that are much more fulfilling for them, and usually with pay increases as well. And to do that, we go through a whole rebranding strategy so that they can attract those job offers to them. So if you're interested in branding yourself in the new economy and also figuring out your new career direction so you can land those high-paid jobs that you love, definitely subscribe to this channel because I have new videos coming out 5 times a week. Here are 6 professions that will be in high demand in the future. Number 1 is software development. Are you an analytical person? Do you enjoy working, perhaps alone, for many hours, uninterrupted by meetings and Teams requests and those kinds of things? Then you might enjoy being a software developer. Well, not that software developers are immune to all notifications, but they're more likely to be working on their own. And innovative companies are becoming better at meeting customer experience needs through the developments of their own apps, which has increased the demand for people who can do application development frameworks, for example, AngularJS, PHP, Java, and Node. And that trend is only going to accelerate. So jobs in software could include application programmers, software engineers, front-end developers, web designers, and webmasters. Next job that's going to be in demand are data scientists. This could be for you if you have a curious mind to explore data and really make sense out of it. And if that sounds like you, then there's another profession that's growing in demand, which is data scientists. That's mainly due to the internet and the fact that with increasing technology, there has been an explosion of data. And so who is going to manage all of this data and actually do something with it and process it? And that's where data scientists come in. They create frameworks that allow companies to collect, organize, and analyze that data, and then they leverage it in order to make better business decisions. Then, depending on the business needs, the job could include everything from running data experiments, implementing statistical models and algorithms, developing data projects, optimizing frameworks to increase efficacy, and then drive better business outcomes. So data science, it's a highly technical and obviously data-heavy role. And that's why if you're thinking about degrees, then a degree in computer science, engineering, statistics, math, or engineering typically are considered related degrees or a related field. So things to think about. For some of you, those are going to be total turnoffs, but for some of you, like some of my clients are data scientists and they love numbers. They love analyzing numbers. They love making sense of numbers. So if you're turned off by that, great, it's not for you. But some of you are going to go, this sounds really interesting to me. And so that could be something to consider. Next up are accountants and auditors. So are you, again, good with numbers? Are you super organized and do you prefer a steady, safe job? Then this might be for you. Accounting is an evergreen profession that will always be in demand, so you never really have to worry about this going out of style, out of demand, no matter what the economic conditions are. And contrary to popular belief, accountants no longer sit in cubicles crunching numbers all day. As an accountant, your job is to find the meaning behind numbers and communicate them to clients or management, and you also get to give advice and make decisions that can impact the financial situation of the company. I had a client actually who was an accountant for a long time. She thought she hated accounting, but when we looked into it, she actually loves spreadsheets, she loves numbers and making sense of them. And what we realized is that it was the environment that was wrong for her. So she was in a corporate environment, it was kind of toxic, she didn't like having to go into an office, she preferred to work from home. So we figured out how she could still do accounting, but do it with her own private clients that she actually likes and enjoys interacting with, and do it on her own schedule in her own home. So just something to keep in mind for accounting, because I know it sounds like one of those traditionally boring jobs, but there are people who are doing accounting and who are really loving life and earning a lot of money at the same time. How do you become an accountant? Usually you need an accounting or relevant degree, and then you need to become certified, depending on your area of accounting. Then once you have those, you can fulfill your lifelong dream of getting paid to play with numbers. Some of you are going to say, that is not my lifelong dream to play with numbers. Fair enough. But again, for some of you, you know who you are. That is something you would actually enjoy. Next up are jobs in healthcare. I'm talking doctors, nurses, etc. Are you someone who finds joy in helping someone else heal? Then healthcare might be for you. And I know I mentioned doctors and nurses, but obviously in the healthcare sector, you have so much more than that. It is such a broad category that includes a wide array of many different occupations, and those are set to grow in the coming years due to a number of factors. First of all, many Western countries do have an aging population, and so more and more people are going to be needing healthcare as they grow older, and medical support. Second of all, there has been a recent report from the International Center on Nurse Migration, which suggested that a high number of nurses are probably going to retire by 2030, leaving an employment vacuum with a lot of open positions that need to be filled. And finally, the pandemic. We can't talk about healthcare without talking about the pandemic, but it's left a large portion of the US population, and not only US, with healthcare needs. So according to the US government, up to 23 million people in the US alone have additional needs post-COVID. So all of this is going to create a large demand for the health profession, and we don't have time now to get into all of the different roles that can entail, but I've had a client who works as he works on the business side of a hospital and does all kinds of operations and team management. He's really like a leader at the hospital. So that's one type of position. Obviously, you have the more direct practitioners. I already mentioned nurses and doctors. No need to mention that again. But I have had clients who also do things like physical therapy and are getting quite well paid for that. And then you have everything else. I've worked at the World Health Organization doing communications for them. So I'm not a doctor, but I've still been communicating health issues. And there are just so many different jobs that are related to healthcare. So if health is exciting for you, I know it was, it's really exciting to me because I do love biology, and I also love health and the idea, without health is wealth. Without health, none of us can really do anything. So that's been an issue that I've been really passionate about a long time, which is what led me into the health sector. And I know for a lot of others, it's something that they're passionate about. So if that's the case, you can take whatever it is that you're doing now, and potentially there's a way to translate that into the health sector. Continuing with the health space, next up are mental health practitioners. Maybe you're a great listener, and if so, you might already have one of the most important skills of a mental health professional: And one thing that's I think is so amazing that's happening right now is that the stigma towards seeking help with your mental health is going down. And arguably at a time when people need mental health services more than ever. It's just not a profession that can be automated. People need real people to listen to them. I don't think robots will be able to do the same thing. And that's why there's an expected growth rate of 22% in the field of substance abuse, behavioral disorders, and mental health counselors between 2018 and 2028. Also, it's one of those roles where you can really feel like you're making an impact on people. Next up are engineers. So again, if you're interested in math and science, if you have the interest and good problem-solving skills, then you could excel at being an engineer. And you don't actually need to be a complete genius to be an engineer, which was surprising to me. I always thought engineers were like so smart. No, they are smart, but you don't necessarily need to be like an Einstein or anything like that. Engineers have always been in demand for one reason or another, but why are engineers in such high demand right now? Well, with cities growing ever bigger, people need to be accommodated by engineers to wire smart homes, design roads. Software engineers are needed to connect streetlights to the internet, and environmental engineers to power them when oil runs out, which is a real risk these days. But it's sales engineers with in-demand technical knowledge of the goods and their market who come out on top in surveys in terms of future demand. So those are a couple of ideas of jobs which surveys have shown should be in demand in the future. Obviously, if none of these sound interesting to you, don't worry. It doesn't mean that there's nothing for you and you're just going to be replaced by a robot and you'll have to deal with it. There are obviously plenty of other options out there. It's all about thinking ahead, being creative, thinking about how the things that you actually love to do, because the worst thing you can possibly do is say, well, I hate math, but math seems to be in demand, so let me force myself to become an accountant or become an engineer. No, you shouldn't have to force yourself. You need to figure out what your high value skill set is, that number one thing that you're the best at. Just because a lot of the things I mentioned do have to do with math and numbers, I mean, it doesn't mean that people skills are not in demand. So whatever your high value skill set is, there is a future job out there for you. You just need to get creative and really think about, hey, what is it that I do that makes me irreplaceable, and focus on those things versus all the stuff that you might be doing, which is not the high value stuff. And that's something we see a lot in the job market, right? Where you have your job description and the day-to-day stuff, you just get bogged down with a lot of busy work and things which are not really pushing the needle forward or utilizing the thing that you're really born to do, that you're really amazing at. The more you can focus on the thing that you are really great at and less on all of the stuff you can do or should do, but not that you want to do, that's actually gonna help you with your job security when you focus more on the things that you're amazing at. If you want to know more about branding yourself in the new economy, landing a career change so that you can get highly paid work that you're excited for in the morning, I have a free class for you. I'll link it below, and feel free to check that out. Let me know what kind of job you have right now in the comments, and how is your industry doing, and hope you enjoyed this. I will see you on the next video.